There's an instruction so simple, so direct, so completely uncomplicated that almost nobody actually follows it. They overlook it because it sounds too easy. They walk past it looking for something more sophisticated. Just assume it, and you will have it. That's the entire instruction. No technique, no ritual, no years of preparation. Just assume it, and you will have it. People hear this and immediately think there must be more to it. There has to be a catch, a hidden step, a secret nuance. And they go searching for the deeper teaching, the complex method, the advanced practice, while the actual answer was sitting right there in front of them the whole time. Just assume it, and you will have it. This is what the masters always taught, not through complicated systems, through this one direct instruction, because they understood something most teachers have forgotten. Manifestation isn't complicated. Consciousness doesn't require sophistication to respond. What it requires is genuine assumption. Tonight, you're going to stop searching for the elaborate method. You're going to start using the simple one that actually works. Just assume it, truly, completely, without backup plans. And then watch as the visible world catches up to confirm what you've already claimed in consciousness. Because the truth has always been this simple. And tonight, you finally let it be that simple. People get confused about what assumption actually means. They think it means hoping, or trying to believe, or visualizing. It means none of those things. Assumption means taking it for granted. When you assume the sun will rise tomorrow, you don't hope it will. You don't visualize it. You don't affirm it. You just take it for granted. It's so settled in your consciousness that you don't even think about it. And the sun, faithfully, rises. That's the assumption that creates. The kind that's so settled, you don't need to think about it. The kind that's beyond hope, beyond effort, beyond technique. Just a quiet, complete, taken-for-granted truth. Most people never assume their desires this way. They hope for them, wish for them, try to feel them, all of which signals to consciousness that the desire isn't yet assumed. It's still in the territory of wanting, not having. True assumption requires you to move your desire into the same category as the sun rising, a quiet, settled fact, not exciting, not dramatic, just taken for granted as your reality. This is harder than it sounds, because your mind has been trained to question, to check, to doubt, but it's also simpler than every technique you've ever tried, because once you actually assume something, no further work is required. The assumption does everything. You just have to make it real. Here's something liberating about the law of consciousness. It doesn't care what you assume. It only responds to whatever you assume. You can assume small things. The law confirms them. You can assume large things. The law confirms them too. You can assume reasonable things or completely unreasonable things. The law doesn't differentiate. It just reflects whatever you've assumed. This means there's no benefit to assuming small to be realistic. Realism is for measuring what already exists. Assumption is for creating what doesn't. And small assumptions create small results. Large assumptions create large results. Same amount of effort, radically different outcomes. So why would you ever assume small? Why claim modest improvements when you could claim massive transformation? The law doesn't reward you for being humble in your assumptions. It just gives you whatever you assumed. Most people limit their assumptions because they think it's safer. They believe they have to assume in proportion to what seems possible from their current circumstances, but assumption operates outside of current circumstances. It creates new circumstances, so assuming based on current limits keeps you within current limits forever. Drop the limits. Assume the version of your life that would make you smile. Not the slightly better version, the version that would actually be amazing. Because the assumption itself is what creates, and you might as well assume something worth creating. Just assume it, big, bold, whatever you actually want, and the law will faithfully confirm whatever you've claimed. People wait to assume until they feel ready. They think they need to work up to it, build their confidence, heal their wounds, clear their blocks. This is procrastination dressed up as spiritual preparation. You don't need to feel ready to assume. You just need to assume. The readiness comes after, through the assumption itself, not before it. If you wait until you feel completely confident to claim wealth, you'll wait forever. Confidence is a result of consistent assumption, not a prerequisite for it. If you wait until you feel completely worthy to claim love, you'll wait forever. Worthiness emerges from assumed identity, not the other way around. So stop waiting to feel ready. Just assume, now, tonight, while you still feel uncertain, while you still have doubts, while you still feel like the old version of yourself. The assumption doesn't require your emotional cooperation up front. It just requires you to make it. And then, as you maintain the assumption, the emotions will gradually shift to match. The confidence will build. The sense of deserving will develop. The worthiness will emerge. But all of this comes through assuming, not before assuming. First you assume, then everything else follows. This is the order, always. So if you've been waiting to feel ready, stop waiting. You'll never feel ready while you're standing on the outside of the assumption. Step inside and let the readiness develop from there. The assumption that creates isn't held in dramatic peak moments. It's held in ordinary ones. People think they need to meditate for an hour to assume something, or do an elaborate visualization, or generate intense feelings. None of that is necessary. In fact, the dramatic effort often makes the assumption harder to hold. The real practice is to assume in your ordinary moments, while you're walking through your kitchen, while you're sitting in your car, while you're standing in line, while you're brushing your teeth. In these mundane moments, you simply remember, I am the wealthy version, I am the loved version, I am the successful version. No drama, no effort, just a quiet, taken-for-granted reminder of who you've assumed yourself to be. This is far more powerful than 30 minutes of intense visualization because it integrates the assumption into your actual life. You're not stepping out of your day to do manifestation work. You're being your new identity while doing the dishes, living from your new state while making coffee. This is how the assumption becomes real, not through peak moments, but through ordinary integration, through being your new self while doing nothing special, through carrying the assumption through your unremarkable hours. So stop trying to make assumption a big event. Make it a quiet, ordinary truth, held while you live your normal life, carried like you carry your own name, without ceremony, without effort, just assumed as a settled fact throughout your ordinary day. You'll be assuming your new reality, and then doubt will show up. It always does. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm fooling myself? What if I'm wasting my time? This is the moment that determines whether your assumption holds or collapses. Here's what to do when doubt shows up. Nothing. You don't argue with it. You don't try to convince it of anything. You don't engage with its questions. You simply notice the doubt and return to your assumption. Without drama, without internal debate. The doubt is the voice of your old identity, fighting for survival. It's not reporting truth. It's expressing resistance to your new claim. And the more you engage with it, the more power you give it. So when doubt arises, simply acknowledge it without engagement. There's the old story, noted, moving on. And you return to assuming your new reality, without needing to justify it, without arguing with the doubt, without trying to overcome it through force. You can't overcome doubt by arguing with it. You can only starve it by refusing to feed it. And the way you starve it is by returning to your assumption every time it tries to interrupt. Over time, doubt loses its power, not because you defeated it, but because you stopped feeding it, and the assumption, fed consistently, grows stronger and more natural until doubt has no foothold anymore. This is the practice. Notice, return, assume, repeat, until doubt fades and the assumption becomes who you are. The single most powerful time to assume your wish fulfilled is right before sleep. This is when your conscious mind releases its grip and your subconscious becomes wide open. Whatever you assume in those final moments before sleep gets impressed deeply, without interference. So make this your nightly practice. As you fall asleep, assume your wish fulfilled. Not visualize, not affirm, just assume. Settle into the quiet truth of having what you want. You don't need to picture anything in detail. You just need to occupy the state, the taken-for-granted reality of being the version of you who has already received. Let this be the last thing in your awareness as you drift off. No effort, no straining, just the quiet assumption of fulfillment. Your subconscious will work with this assumption all night, integrating it, making it more familiar, slowly turning it into your default consciousness. And night after night, you wake up slightly more in the assumed state than you were the day before. This is one of the most efficient manifestation practices available. A few minutes of pure assumption before sleep, compounded over weeks and months, will transform your inner reality more than any elaborate technique done occasionally during the day. If you do nothing else from tonight's lecture, do this. Assume your wish fulfilled as you fall asleep, every single night, and let the assumption work in the dark while you rest. Most people undermine their assumptions by qualifying them. I'm wealthy. Well, working toward it. I'm loved in my own way. I'm successful. I mean, getting there. Every qualifier is an escape hatch, a way to back out if the assumption doesn't feel completely true. And every qualifier weakens the assumption. True assumption is unqualified. I am wealthy, period. I am loved, period. I am successful, period. No softening, no hedging, no, well, sort of. This feels uncomfortable at first, because qualifying is how your mind has been protecting you from feeling exposed. If you fully claim something and it doesn't manifest, you'll feel foolish. So your mind preemptively qualifies the claim to prevent that exposure. But the qualifying is exactly what prevents the manifestation, because consciousness responds to what you've assumed, not to your qualifiers. And a heavily qualified claim signals incomplete assumption. So drop the qualifiers. Make your claims clean. I am that. Done. This is harder than it sounds. You'll feel the urge to soften, hedge, qualify, resist it. Every time you catch yourself qualifying, simplify back to the clean claim. I am that. End of statement. Over time, the unqualified claim becomes natural. And consciousness, responding to your now cleaner assumption, starts arranging reality to match, because there's nothing left to negotiate with. You've simply assumed it, and the law has no choice but to confirm. The biggest mistake people make after assuming something is trying to make it happen. They assume wealth, then immediately start strategizing how to manufacture it. They assume love, then immediately start trying to engineer relationships. They assume success, then immediately start pushing and forcing. All of this undoes the assumption, because effort to make it happen is the activity of someone who doesn't have it yet. The person who has it doesn't need to make it happen. They already have it. They just live as the person who has it, and let the visible world arrange itself accordingly. When you try to make your assumption happen, you're declaring that the assumption isn't yet real. And consciousness, faithful to that declaration, keeps it unreal in your visible world. So once you've assumed something, stop trying to make it happen. Just live as the person who has it. Take inspired actions when they occur to you, but don't force, don't strategize, don't push. The bridge of incidents that will deliver what you've assumed builds itself. You don't have to construct it. Your only job is to maintain the assumption and let consciousness handle the manifestation. This is the rest that comes from genuine assumption. No more forcing, no more pushing, no more exhausting yourself trying to make things happen. Just being who you've assumed yourself to be, and trusting that the visible world will catch up in its own perfect timing. Because it will. It always does, when the assumption is genuinely held and the forcing finally stops. Here's where we land tonight. You don't need a complicated practice. You don't need elaborate techniques. You don't need to master a dozen spiritual principles. You just need to do one thing. Just assume it, and you will have it. Tonight, pick what you want. Just one thing for now. And assume it, not hope, not wish, not affirm. Assume it, as taken for granted as the air you breathe. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am successful. Whatever it is, make the claim, drop the qualifiers, stop trying to make it happen. Just assume it as a settled fact about who you are. And then live from that assumption, tonight, tomorrow, every day from here forward, even when doubt shows up, and it will. You just return to the assumption without engaging with the doubt. Sleep in the assumption, wake up in the assumption, carry it through your ordinary day. Don't make it dramatic, just make it real. And then watch what happens, because the law of consciousness has never failed anyone who genuinely held an assumption long enough. It works every time, for everyone who actually does it. Most people don't actually assume. They hope, they wish, they try to believe, but they never make the clean, unqualified, take-it-for-granted claim that the law actually responds to. You're going to be different. Tonight, you make the assumption. And then you keep holding it, simply, quietly, without drama, until the visible world catches up to confirm what you've already known is yours. Just assume it, and you will have it. It really is that simple. And tonight, you finally let it be. Just assume it, and you will have it. Drop the techniques, drop the qualifiers, drop the forcing. Make the simple, clean claim that consciousness has always been waiting for you to make, and let the law deliver what you finally truly assumed.